Wealth file number 11. Rich people choose to get paid based on results. Poor people choose to get paid based on time. Have you ever heard this advice? Go to school, get good grades, get a good job, get a steady paycheck, be on time, work hard, and you'll live happily ever after. I don't know about you, but I'd sure love to see the written guarantee on that one. Unfortunately, this sage advice comes directly from the Book of Fairy Tales, Volume 1, right after the Tooth Fairy story. I'm not going to bother debunking the entire statement. You can do that for yourself by checking your own experience and the lives of everyone around you. What I will discuss is the idea behind the steady paycheck. There's nothing wrong with getting a steady paycheck unless it interferes with your ability to earn what you're worth. There's the rub. It usually does. Poor people prefer to be paid a steady salary or hourly wage. They need the security of knowing that exactly the same amount of money is coming in at exactly the same time, month in, month out. What they don't realize is that this security comes with a price, and the cost is wealth. Living based in security is living based in fear. What you're actually saying is, I'm afraid I won't be able to earn enough based on my performance, so I'll settle for earning just enough to survive or to be comfortable. Rich people prefer to get paid based on the results they produce, if not totally, then at least partially. Rich people usually own their own businesses in some form. They make their income from their profits. Rich people work on commission or percentages of revenue. Rich people choose stock options and profit sharing in lieu of higher salaries. Notice there are no guarantees with any of the above. As stated earlier, in the financial world, the rewards are usually proportionate to the risk. Rich people believe in themselves. They believe in their value and in their ability to deliver it. Poor people don't. That's why they need guarantees. Poor people trade their time for money. The problem with this strategy is that your time is limited. This means you end up breaking a major wealth rule, which states, never, I repeat, never have a ceiling on your income. If you choose to get paid for your time, you are pretty much killing your chances for wealth. At my seminars, I often meet salaried or hourly wage employees who complain to me that they're not getting paid what they're worth. My response is, in whose opinion? I'm sure your boss thinks you're being compensated fairly. Why don't you get off the salary treadmill and ask to be paid based fully or partially on your performance? Or if that's not possible, why not work for yourself? Then you'll know you're making exactly what you're worth. The fear most people have of being paid based on the results is often just a fear of breaking out of their old conditioning. In my experience, most people who are stuck in the steady paycheck rut have past programming that tells them this is the normal way to get paid for your work. Personally, I believe just about everyone should own their own business, be it full-time or part-time. The first reason is that by far the vast majority of millionaires became rich by being in their own business. It's extremely difficult to create wealth when the tax man is grabbing almost half of everything you earn. When you own a business, you can save a small fortune in tax by writing off a portion of your expenses for such things as your car, travel, education, and even your home. For the tax reason alone, it's worth having your own business. If you don't have a brilliant business idea, not to worry. You can use someone else's. First, you can become a commissioned salesperson. Selling is one of the world's highest paid professions. If you're good, you can earn a fortune. Second, you can join a network marketing company. There are dozens of excellent ones, and they have in place all of the products and systems you need to get started immediately. For just a few bucks, you can become a distributor and have all the benefits of owning a business with very few of the administrative hassles. If it resonates with you, network marketing can be a dynamite vehicle for wealth. But, and this is a big but, don't think for a minute that you're going to get a free ride. Network marketing will only work if you do. It will take training, time, and energy to succeed. But if you do, incomes in the range of $20,000 to even $50,000 a month, that's right, a month, are not uncommon. In any case, just signing up and becoming a part-time distributor will give you some excellent tax advantages, and who knows, maybe you'll enjoy the product enough to offer it to others and end up making a nice income to boot. Another option is exchanging your job for a contract position. If your employer is willing, he or she can hire your company instead of you to do basically what you're doing now. A few legal requirements have to be fulfilled, but for the most part, if you add 1 or 2 more clients, even part-time, you can get paid as a business owner instead of an employee and enjoy the business owner tax benefits. In the end, the only way to earn what you're really worth is to get paid based on your results. It was my dad who said it best. He said, "You'll never get rich working on straight salary for someone else. If you're going to get a job, make sure you get paid on percentage. Otherwise, go to work for yourself." Now that's sage advice. Now place your hand on your heart and declare, "I choose to get paid based on my results." And go ahead and touch your head now and say, "I have a millionaire mind." Here are your millionaire mind actions. 1. If you are currently in a job getting paid based on an hourly wage or salary, create and propose a compensation plan to your employer that would allow you to get paid at least partly based on your individual results as well as the results of the company. If you own your own business, create a compensation plan that allows your employees to get paid based more on their results and the results of your company. Put these plans into action immediately. 2. If you are currently in a job and not being paid what you are worth based on the results you are producing, immediately start your own business. You can begin part-time. You could easily join a network marketing company or become a coach, teaching others what you know, or offer your independent consulting services back to the company you originally worked for, but this time paid on performance and results rather than only for your time. Wealth file number 10. Rich people are excellent receivers. Poor people are poor receivers. If I had to nail down the number one reason most people do not reach their full financial potential, it would be this. Most people are poor receivers. They may or may not be good at giving, but they are definitely bad at receiving. And because they are poor at receiving, they don't. People are challenged by receiving for several reasons. First, many people feel unworthy or undeserving. This syndrome runs rampant in our society. I would guess that over 90% of individuals have feelings of not being good enough running through their veins. Where does this low self-esteem come from? The usual, our conditioning. For most of us, it comes from hearing 20 no's for yes. 10 you're doing it wrongs for every you're doing it right, and 5 you're stupids for every you're awesome. Even if our parents or guardians, even if our credit were supportive, many of us end up with feelings of not being able to continue to measure up to their accolades and expectations. So once again, we're not good enough. No wonder people have receiving. One tiny mistake and you're doomed to carry the burden of misery and poverty for the rest of your life. A little harsh, you say? Since when did the mind become passionate? Again, the conditioned mind is a file folder filled with past programming, filled with past program stories of drama and disaster. Its strong suit. Here's something I teach in might make you feel better. It doesn't matter whether you feel worthy or not. You can be rich either way. Plenty of wealthy people don't feel overly worthy. In fact, it's one of the major motivations for people to get rich, to prove themselves and their worth to others. The idea that self-worth is necessary for net worth is just that, an idea. But it doesn't necessarily hold water in the real world, in case you haven't noticed. Of course, getting rich to prove yourself may not make you the happiest camper, so you're better off creating wealth for other reasons. But what's important here is for you to realize that your feeling of unworthiness won't prevent you from getting rich, and from a strictly financial point of view could actually be a motivational asset. Having said that, right now, I want you to get what I'm going to share with you loud and clear. This could easily be one of the most important moments of your life. Are you ready? Here goes. Recognize that whether you are worthy or not is all a made-up story. Again, nothing has meaning except for the meaning we give it. I don't know about you, but I've never heard of anybody who went through the stamping line at birth. Can you imagine God stamping each person's forehead as he or she came through? Worthy, unworthy, worthy, unworthy, worthy, unworthy. Yuck! Definitely unworthy. Sorry, I don't think it works that way. You decide. You and you alone determine if you're going to be worthy. It's simply your perspective. If you say you're worthy, you are. If you say you're not worthy, you're not. Either way, you will live into your story. This is so critical, I'm going to repeat that again. You will live into your story. It's just that simple. So why would people do this to themselves? Why would people make up the story that they're not worthy? It's just the nature of the human mind. One of my own sayings is this. If a 100-foot oak tree had the mind of a human being, it would only grow to be 10 feet tall. So here's my suggestion. Since it's a lot easier to change your story than your worthiness, instead of worrying about changing your worthiness, change your story. It's a lot faster and a lot cheaper. Simply make up a new and much more supportive story and live into that. Oh, but I couldn't do that, you say. I'm not qualified to decide that I'm worthy. That has to come from someone else. Sorry, I say that's not quite accurate, which is a nice way of saying bull poo. It wouldn't make a difference what anyone says or said in the past because you have to believe it and buy into it for it to have any effect, and that can't come from anyone else but you. But just to make you feel better, let's play the game, and I'll do for you what I do for thousands of participants at the Millionaire Mind Intensive. I will personally anoint you. Now, this is a special ceremony, so I'm going to ask you to eliminate any distractions right now. Stop whatever you're doing. Men, if you like, you can change into a suit and tie, although a tuxedo would be best. Women, a formal evening gown and heels would be perfect. And if you don't have anything that's classy or new enough, this would definitely be an occasion to go buy yourself a brand new dress, designer label preferred. If you're all ready, let's begin. Please kneel down on one knee and bow your head in respect. Ready? Here goes. By the power invested in me, I hereby anoint you as worthy from now until forever. Okay, we're done. You can stand up now and hold your head high because you're finally worthy. Here's some sage advice. Stop buying into that worthiness or unworthiness crap and start taking the actions you need to take to get rich. The second major reason most people have a problem with receiving is that they have bought into the adage, it's better to give than to receive. Let me put this as elegantly as possible. What a crock! Think about it. How could you give if there weren't someone or something there to receive? Both have to be in perfect balance to work here, 1-to-1, 50-50. And since giving and receiving must always equal each other, they must also be equal in importance to each other. Besides, how does it feel to give? Most of us would agree that giving feels wonderful and fulfilling. Conversely, how does it feel when you want to give and the other person isn't willing to receive? Most of us, again, would agree that it feels terrible. So know this. If you're not willing to receive, then you are ripping off those who want to give to you. You are actually denying them the joy and pleasure that comes from giving. Instead, they feel terrible. Why? Again, everything is energy, and when you want to give but can't, that energy cannot be expressed and it gets stuck inside of you. That stuck energy then turns into negative emotions. To make matters even worse, when you are not willing to fully receive, you are training the universe not to give to you. It's simple. If you aren't willing to receive your share, it will go to someone else who is. That's one of the reasons the rich get richer and the poor get, well, poorer. Not because they're any more worthy, but because they are willing to receive while poor people are not. I learned this lesson in a big way while camping by myself in the forest. In preparation for my 2-day trip, I made what's called a lean-to. This means tying the top part of a tarp to a tree and then fastening the bottom to the ground to create a 45-degree roof over my head when I slept. I prepared this mini condo because it rained all night. When I came out of my shelter that morning, I was noticing how dry I and everything under the tarp was. At the same time, however, I couldn't help but notice this unusually deep puddle that had collected at the bottom of the tarp. All of a sudden, I heard this inner voice say to me, "Nature is totally abundant, but not discriminating. When the rain falls, it has to go somewhere. If one part is dry, another part will be doubly wet." As I stood over the puddle, I realized this is exactly the way it works with money. There's plenty of it, trillions and trillions of dollars floating around. It's indefinite abundance, and it has to go somewhere. The deal is this. If somebody isn't willing to receive his or her share, it must go to whoever will. The rain doesn't care who gets it, and neither does money. At this point in the Millionaire Mind seminar, I teach people the special prayer I created after my experience under the tarp. Of course, it's a little tongue-in-cheek, but the lesson is obvious. It goes like this. Universe, if anyone has something great coming to them and they're not willing to take it, send it to me. I am open and willing to receive all of your blessings. Thank you. I have the entire audience repeat this with me, and they go crazy. They're excited because it feels amazing to be totally willing to receive, and it feels great because it's totally natural to do so. Anything you made up to the contrary is again just a story that isn't serving you or anyone else. Let your story go and your money come. Rich people work hard and believe it's perfectly appropriate to be well rewarded for their efforts and the value they provide for others. Poor people work hard, but due to their feelings of unworthiness, they believe that it's inappropriate for them to be well rewarded for their efforts they provide. This belief sets them up to be perfect victims. And of course, how can you be a good victim if you are well rewarded? Many poor people actually believe they are better people because they are poor. Somehow they believe they're more pious or spiritual or good. Baloney! The only thing poor people are is poor. This leads me to an important point. If you have the wherewithal to have a lot of money, I suggest make sure you have it. Why? Because the truth is that we are extremely fortunate to be living in this society, a society whereby each person is in fact rich compared to many other parts of the world. Some people just don't ever have the opportunity to have a lot of money. And if you are one of the lucky people who do have that ability, and each of you are or you wouldn't be listening right now, then use your wherewithal for all it's worth. Get really, really rich, and then help people who don't have the opportunity that you did. That makes a lot more sense to me than being broke and helping no one. So what to do? How do you become a good receiver? First, begin to nurture yourself. Remember, people are creatures of habit, and therefore you will have to consciously practice receiving the best that life has to offer. One of the key elements in the money management system we teach in the Millionaire Mind seminar is having a play account where you get to blow a designated amount of money. This is things that nurture you and would allow you to feel like a million. The idea of this account is to help you validate your worthiness and strengthen your receiving muscle. Second, I want you to practice going crazy with excitement and gratitude anytime you find or receive any money. It's funny. When I was broke and I saw a penny on the ground, I would never stoop so low as to pick up a lousy penny. Now that I'm rich, however, I jump for joy and pick up anything that even looks like money. Then I give it a kiss for good luck and declare out loud, I'm a money magnet! Thank you, thank you, thank you! I don't stand there judging the denomination. Money is money, and finding money is a blessing from the universe. Now that I'm fully willing to receive anything and everything that comes my way, I usually do. The only thing you'll have to remember is to keep saying thank you for all of your blessings. Now, place your hand on your heart and declare, I am an excellent receiver. I am open and willing to receive massive amounts of money into my life. Touch your head and say, I have a millionaire mind. Here are your millionaire mind actions. 1. Practice being an excellent receiver. Each time someone gives you a compliment of any sort, simply say thank you. Do not return a compliment to that person at the same time. This allows you to fully receive and own the compliment instead of deflecting it, as most people do. 2. Any, and I mean any, money you find or receive should enthusiastically be celebrated. Go ahead and scream out, I'm a money magnet! Thank you, thank you, thank you! 3. Pamper yourself. At least once a month, do something special to nurture yourself and your spirit. Get a massage, a manicure, or a pedicure. Take yourself out for an extravagant lunch or dinner. Rent a boat or a weekend cottage. Have someone bring you breakfast in bed. Do things that will allow you to feel rich and deserving. Wealth file number 9. Rich people are bigger than their problems. Poor people are smaller than their problems. As I said earlier, getting rich is not a stroll in the park. This is a journey that is full of twists, turns, detours, and obstacles. The road to wealth is fraught with traps and pitfalls, and that's precisely why most people don't take it. They don't want the hassles, the headaches, the responsibilities. In short, they don't want the problems. Poor people will do almost anything to avoid problems. They see a challenge and they run. The irony is that in their quest to make sure they don't have problems, they have the biggest problem of all. They're broke and miserable. The secret to success, my friends, is not to try and avoid or get rid of or shrink from your problems. The secret is to grow yourself so that you are bigger than any problem. Whether you are rich or poor, playing big or playing small, problems do not go away. If you're breathing, you will always have so-called problems and obstacles in your life. Let me make this short and sweet. The size of the problem is never the issue. What matters is the size of you. This may be painful, but if you're ready to move to the next level of success, you're going to have to become conscious of what's really going on in your life. Are you ready? Here goes. If you have a big problem in your life, all that means is that you are being a small person. Don't be fooled by appearances. Your outer world is merely a reflection of your inner world. If you want to make a permanent change, stop focusing on the size of your problems and start focusing on the size of you. Take a full breath and decide right now, in this very moment, you will be a bigger person and not allow any obstacle or problem to take you out of either your happiness or success. The bigger the problems you can handle, the bigger the business you can handle, the bigger the responsibility you can handle, the more employees you can handle, the more customers you can handle, the more money you can handle, and ultimately, the more wealth you can handle. Again, your wealth can only grow to the extent that you do. The objective is to grow yourself to a place where you can overcome any problems or obstacles that get in the way of your creating wealth and keeping it once you have it. One of the reasons rich people are bigger than their problems goes back to what we discussed earlier. They don't focus on the problem. They focus on their goal. Again, the mind generally focuses on one predominant thing at a time, meaning that either you are whining about the problem or you are working on the solution. Rich and successful people are solution-oriented. They spend their time and energy strategizing and planning the answer and challenges that come up and creating systems to make certain that problem doesn't come up again. Poor and again, successful people are problem-oriented. They spend their time and energy bitching and complaining and seldom come up with anything creative to alleviate the problem, let alone make sure it doesn't happen again. Rich people do not back away from problems, do not avoid problems, and do not complain about problems. Rich people are financial warriors. In our seminars, the definition of a warrior we use is one who conquers. The bottom line is that if you master at handling problems, overcoming any obstacle, what can stop you from success? The answer is nothing. And if nothing can stop you, you become unstoppable. And if you become capable, what choices do you have in your life? The answer is all the choices. If you are unstoppable, anything and everything becomes available to you. You simply choose it and it's yours. It's that for freedom. Place your hand on your heart and declare, I on your heart and declare any problems. I can handle any problems. Go ahead and touch your head now and say, I have a millionaire mind. Now and say, millionaire mind. Millionaire mind. 1. Whenever you are feeling upset over a big problem, point to yourself and say, mini me, mini me, mini me. Then take a deep breath and say to yourself, I can handle this. I am bigger than any problem. 2. Write down a problem you are having in your life right now. Then list 10 specific actions you can take to resolve or at least improve this situation. This will move you from problem thinking into solution thinking. First, there's a good chance you'll solve the problem. Second, you'll feel a heck of a lot better. Wealth file number 7. Rich people associate with positive, successful people. Poor people often associate with negative and unsuccessful people. Successful people look at other successful people as a means to motivate themselves. They see other successful people as models to learn from. They say to themselves, if they can do it, I can do it. Rich people are grateful that others have succeeded before them so that they now have a blueprint to follow that will make it easier to attain their own success. Hey, why reinvent the wheel? There are proven methods for success that work virtually for everyone who applies them. Consequently, the fastest and easiest way to create wealth is to learn exactly how rich people who are masters of money play the game. The goal is to simply model their inner and outer strategies. It just makes sense. If you can take the exact same actions and have the exact same mindset, chances are good you'll get the exact same results. That's what I did, and that's what this entire recording is all about. Contrary to the rich, when poor people hear about other people's success, they often judge them, criticize them, mock them, and try to pull them down to their own level. How many of you know people like this? How many of you know family members like this? The question is this: how can you possibly learn from or be inspired by someone you put down? Whenever I'm introduced to an extremely rich person, I create a way to get together with them. I want to talk to them, learn how they think, utilize their contacts, and if we have other things in common, possibly become personal friends with them. I was recently doing a radio interview and a woman called in with an excellent question. What do I do if I'm positive and want to grow, but my husband is a downer? Do I leave him? Do I try and get him to change? What do I do? You know, I hear this question at least 100 times a week when I'm teaching our courses. Almost everyone comes to the stage with the same question. What if the people I'm closest to aren't into personal growth and even put me down for it? Here's the answer I gave the woman on the call, what I tell the people at our courses, and what I'm suggesting to you. First, don't bother trying to get negative people to change. That's not your job. Your job is to use what you've learned to better yourself and your life. Be the model. Be successful. Be happy. Then maybe, and I stress, maybe they'll see the light in you and want some of it. Again, energy is contagious. Darkness dissipates in light. Your job is simply to be the best you can be. Worst comes to worst. If you just can't handle their non-supportive energy anymore, if it's bringing you down to a point where you're not able to grow, you may have to make some courageous decisions about who you are and how you want to live the rest of your life. I'm not suggesting you do anything rash, But I, for one, would never live with a person who was negative and poo-pooed my desire to learn and grow, be it personally, spiritually, or financially. I wouldn't do that to myself because I respect myself and my life, and I deserve to be as happy and successful as possible. The way I figure it, there are over 6.3 billion people in the world, and there's no way I'm going to saddle myself with a downer. Either they move up or I move on. I'm sure you've heard the saying, birds of a feather flock together. Did you know that most people earn within 20% of the average income of their closest friends? That's why you better watch whom you associate with and choose whom you spend your time with very, very carefully. From my experience, rich people don't just join the country club to play golf, they join to meet other rich and successful people. There's another saying that goes, it's not what you know, it's who you know. As far as I'm concerned, you can take that to the bank. In short, if you want to fly with the eagles, don't swim with the ducks. I also make it a point to remove myself from toxic situations. I see no reason for infecting myself with poisonous energy. Among these, I would include arguing, gossiping, and backstabbing. I would also include watching mindless television, unless you use it specifically as a relaxation strategy instead of your sole form of entertainment. When I watch TV, it's usually sports. First, because I enjoy seeing masters at anything at work, or in this case, play. And second, because I enjoy listening to the interviews after the games. I love listening to the mindset of champions, and to me, anyone who has made it as far as the big leagues in any sport is a champion. During the 2004 Olympic Games, Perdita Felicien, a Canadian and the reigning world champion in the 100-meter hurdles, was heavily favored to win the gold medal. In the final race, she hit the first hurdle and fell hard. She wasn't able to complete the race. Extremely upset, she had tears in her eyes as she lay there in bewilderment. She had prepared for this moment 6 hours a day, every day of the week for the past 4 years. The next morning, I saw her news conference. I wish I had taped it. It was amazing to listen to her perspective. She said something to the effect of, I don't know why it happened, but it did, and I'm going to use it. I'm going to focus even more and work even harder for the next 4 years. Who knows what my path would have been had I won? Maybe it would have dulled my desire. I don't know, but I do know that now I'm hungrier than ever. I'll be back even stronger. Just you watch. As I heard her speak, all I could say was, wow! You know, you can learn a lot from listening to champions. Rich people hang out with winners. Poor people hang out with losers. Why? It's a matter of comfort. Rich people are comfortable with other successful people. They feel fully worthy of being with them. Poor people are uncomfortable with highly successful people. They're either afraid they'll be rejected or they feel as if they don't belong. To protect itself, the ego then goes into judgment and criticism. I hope you get the point. Instead of mocking rich people, model them. Instead of shying away from rich people, get to know them. Instead of saying, wow, they're so special, say, if they can do it, I can do it. Eventually, if you want to touch a millionaire, you'll be able to touch yourself. Now, place your hand on your heart and declare, I model rich and successful people. I associate with rich and successful people. If they can do it, I can do it. And go ahead and touch your head and say, I have a millionaire mind. Take these millionaire mind actions. 1. Go to the library, a bookstore, or the internet and read a biography of someone who is or was extremely rich and successful. Andrew Carnegie, John D. Rockefeller, Mary Kay, Donald Trump, Warren Buffett, and Bill Gates are all some good examples. Use their story for inspiration, for learning specific success strategies, and most importantly, for copying their mindset. 2. Join a high-end club, such as for tennis, health, business, or golf. Mingle with rich people in a rich environment. Or, if there's no way you can afford to join a high-end club, have coffee or tea in the classiest hotel in your city. Get comfortable in this atmosphere and watch the patrons, noticing they're no different from you. 3. Identify a situation or a person who was a downer in your life. Remove yourself from that situation or association. If it's family, you might just have to choose to be around them less. 4. Stop watching trash TV and stay away from bad news. Wealth file number 6. Rich people admire other rich and successful people. Poor people resent rich and successful people. It's amazing to witness the resentment and even outright anger that many poor people have towards the rich, as if they believe that rich people make them poor. Yep, that's right. Rich people took all the money, so there's none left for me. Of course, this is perfect victim talk. I want to tell you a story, not to complain, but simply to relate a real-world experience I had with this principle. In the old days, when I was, say, financially challenged, I used to drive a clunker. Changing lanes in traffic was never a problem. Almost everybody would let me in. But when I got rich and bought a gorgeous new black Jaguar, I couldn't help but notice how things had changed. All of a sudden, I started getting cut off and sometimes even given the finger for added measure. I even got things thrown at me, all for one reason. I drove a Jag. One day, I was driving through a lower-end neighborhood in San Diego, delivering turkeys for a charity at Christmas time. I had the sunroof open and I noticed 4 grimy guys perched in the back of a pickup truck behind me. Out of nowhere, they started playing basketball with my car by attempting to shoot beer cans into my open sunroof. 5 dents and several deep scratches later, they passed me screaming, "You rich bastard!" Of course, I figured this to be an isolated incident until just 2 weeks later, in a different lower-end neighborhood, I parked my car in the street and returned to it less than 10 minutes later, only to discover that the entire side of my car had been keyed. The next time I went to that area of town, I rented a Ford Escort, and amazingly, I didn't have a single problem. I'm not implying that poor neighborhoods have bad people, but in my experience, they sure seem to have plenty of folks who resent the rich. Who knows? Maybe it's some kind of chicken and egg thing. Is it because they're broke that they resent the rich? Or because they resent rich people that they're broke? As far as I'm concerned, who cares? It's all the same. They're still poor. It's easy to talk about not resenting the rich, but depending on your mood, falling into the trap can happen to anyone, even me. Recently, I was eating dinner in my hotel room about an hour before going on stage to teach an evening session of the Millionaire Mind seminar. I turned on the tube to check out the sports scores and found that Oprah was on. Although I'm not a big fan of television, I love Oprah. That woman has affected more people in a positive way than almost anyone else on the planet, and consequently, she deserves every penny she's got and more. Meanwhile, she's interviewing actress Halle Berry. They're discussing how Halle has just received one of the largest film contracts in history for a female actor, $20 million. Halle then says that she doesn't care about the money, that she's fought for this humongous contract to blaze a trail for other women to follow. I heard myself say skeptically, "Yeah, right. Do you think me and everyone else watching this show is an idiot? You should take a hunk of that dough and give your public relations agent a raise. That's the best soundbite writing I've ever heard." The moment I felt that negative energy run through me, my observation alarms went off. And as I've trained myself to do, I immediately neutralized the negativity in my mind. You know, you don't have to be perfect to get rich, but you do need to recognize when your thinking isn't empowering to yourself or others, and then quickly refocus on more supportive thoughts. When I moved to San Diego, we moved into a home in one of the richest parts of town. We loved the beauty of the home and the area, but I had some trepidation because I didn't know anyone and felt I didn't fit in yet. My plan was to stay low-key and not mix much with these rich snobs. As the universe would have it, however, my kids, who were 5 and 7 years old at the time, made friends with the other kids in the neighborhood, and pretty soon I was driving them to these mansions to drop them off to play. I remember knocking on a stunningly carved wooden door that was at least 20 feet high. The mom opened it up, and with the friendliest voice I'd ever heard, she said, "Harv, it's so great to meet you. Come on in." I was a bit bewildered as she poured me some iced tea and got me a bowl of fruit. What's the catch? My skeptical mind kept wanting to know. Then her husband came in from playing with the kids in the pool. He was even friendlier. "Harv, we're so happy to have you in the neighborhood. You have to come to our barbecue tonight with the rest of your family. We'll introduce you to everybody and we're not taking no for an answer. By the way, do you golf? I'm playing at the club tomorrow. Why don't you come as my guest?" By now, I was in shock. What happened to the snobs I was sure I was going to meet? I left and went back home to tell my wife we were going to the barbecue. We went and that evening met some of the warmest, kindest, generous, most loving people of our lives. At one point, the conversation shifted to a charity drive that one of the guests was heading up. One after another, the checkbooks came out. I couldn't believe it. I was actually watching a lineup to give this woman money. But each check came with a catch. The agreement was that there would be reciprocity and that the woman would support the charity the donor was involved in. That's right, to a T. Every person there either headed up or was a major player in a charity. Needless to say, my old conditioned belief that rich people were greedy snobs dissipated in the light of reality. Now I know the opposite to be true. In my experience, the richest people I know are the nicest people I know. They are also the most generous. Not to say that people who aren't rich aren't nice or generous, but I can safely say the idea that all rich people are somehow bad is nothing more than ignorance. The fact is, resenting the rich is one of the surest ways to stay broke. We're creatures of habit, and to overcome this or any other habit, we need to practice. So, instead of resenting rich people, I want you to practice admiring rich people. I want you to practice blessing rich people. And I want you to practice loving rich people. That way, unconsciously, you know that when you become rich, other people will admire you, bless you, and love you, instead of resent the heck out of you. Now, place your hand on your heart and declare, "I admire rich people. I bless rich people. I love rich people. And I'm going to be one of those rich people too." Go ahead and touch your head and say, "I have a millionaire mind." Here are your millionaire mind actions. 1. Practice the Huna philosophy, bless that which you want. Drive around or buy magazines. Look at beautiful homes, gorgeous cars, and read about successful businesses. Whatever you see that you like, bless it, and bless the owners or the people involved. 2. Write and send a short letter or email to someone you know of, not necessarily personally, who is highly successful in any arena, letting them know how much you admire and honor them for their achievements. Wealth file number 5. Rich people focus on opportunities. Poor people focus on obstacles. Rich people see opportunities. Poor people see obstacles. Rich people see potential growth. Poor people see potential loss. Rich people focus on the rewards. Poor people focus on the risks. We're not talking positive thinking here. We're talking about your habitual perspective on the world. Poor people make choices based in fear. Their minds are constantly scanning for what's wrong or could go wrong in any situation. Middle-class people are slightly more optimistic. Their mindset is, "I sure hope this works." Rich people, as we've said earlier, take responsibility for the results in their lives and act upon the mindset, "It will work because I'll make it work." Rich people expect to succeed. They have confidence in their abilities. They have confidence in their creativity. And they believe that should the doo-doo hit the fan, they can find another way to succeed. Generally speaking, the higher the reward, the higher the risk. Because they constantly see opportunity, rich people are willing to take a risk. Rich people believe that if worse comes to worse, they can always make their money back. For the record, being willing to risk doesn't necessarily mean that you are willing to lose. Rich people take educated risks. This means they research, do their due diligence, and make decisions based on solid information and facts. Do rich people take forever to get educated? No. They do what they can in as short a time as possible, then make an informed decision to go for it or not. I know what I'm about to say may sound a little strange considering how much I value self-responsibility. However, I do believe a certain element of what many people call luck is associated with getting rich or, for that matter, with being successful at anything. In football, it might be the opposing team's player fumbling on your own 1-yard line with less than a minute to go, allowing your team to win the game. In golf, it could be the errant shot that hits an out-of-bounds tree and bounces back onto the green just 3 inches from the hole. In business, how many times have you heard of a guy who plops down some money on a piece of land in the boonies and 10 years later some conglomerate decides it wants to build a shopping center or office building on it? Meanwhile, this investor gets rich. So, was it a brilliant business move on his part or sheer luck? My guess is that it's a bit of both. The point, however, is that no luck or anything else worthwhile will come your way unless you take some form of action. To succeed financially, you have to do something, buy something, or start something. And when you do succeed, is it luck, or is it the universe or a higher power supporting you for having the courage and commitment to go for it? As far as I'm concerned, who cares what it is? It happens. Another key principle pertinent here is that rich people focus on what they want, while poor people focus on what they don't want. Again, the universal law states, what you focus on expands. Because rich people focus on the opportunities in everything, opportunities abound for them. Their biggest problem is handling all the incredible money-making possibilities they see. On the other hand, because poor people focus on the obstacles in everything, obstacles abound for them, and their biggest problem is handling all the incredible obstacles they see. Do you want some simple but extremely rare advice? Here it is. If you want to get rich, focus on making, keeping, and investing your money. If you want to be poor, focus on spending your money. You know, you could read 1,000 books and take 100 courses on success, but it all boils down to that. Remember, what you focus on expands. Rich people also understand that you can never know all the information beforehand. It's nuts to think that you can know everything that may happen in the future. It's delusional to believe that you can prepare for every circumstance that might someday occur and protect yourself from it. Did you know that there's no straight lines in the universe? Life doesn't travel in perfectly straight lines. It moves more like a winding river. More often than not, you can only see to the next bend, and only when you reach that next turn can you see more. So, just get in the game with whatever you've got from wherever you are. I call this entering the corridor. For example, years ago, I was planning on opening an all-night dessert cafe in Fort Lauderdale, Florida. I studied location options, the marketplace, and found out what equipment I'd need. I also researched the kinds of cakes and pies and ice creams and coffees available. First big problem. I got really fat. Eating my research wasn't helpful. So I asked myself, Harv, what would be the best way to study this business? Then I heard this guy Harv, who was obviously a lot smarter than me, answer, if you really want to learn a business, get into it. You don't have to own the darn thing from day one. Get in the corridor by getting a job in the arena. You'll learn more by sweeping up a restaurant and washing dishes than by 10 years of research from the outside. I told you he was a lot smarter than me. And that's exactly what I did. I got a job at Mother Butler's Pie Shop. I wish I could tell you that they immediately recognized my superb talents and started me as CEO. But alas, somehow they just didn't see, nor did they care about my executive leadership skills, and so I began as a busboy. That's right, sweeping the floor and clearing dishes. Funny how the power of intention works, isn't it? You might think that I must really have had to swallow my pride to do this, but the truth is, I never looked at it that way. I was on a mission to learn the pie business. I was grateful for the opportunity to learn it on someone else's ticket and make some pocket change to boot. During my tenure as the pie busboy, I spent as much time as possible shooting the doo-doo with the manager about revenues and profits, checking boxes to find out the names of the suppliers, and helping the baker at 4 a.m. to learn about equipment, ingredients, and the problems that could occur. A full week went by, and I guess I was pretty good at my job because the manager sat me down, fed me some pie, yuck, and promoted me to, drumroll please, cashier. I thought about it long and hard for exactly a nanosecond and replied, thanks, but no thanks. First, there was no way I could learn much being stuck behind a cash register. Second, I'd already learned what I came to learn. Mission accomplished. So that's what I mean by being in the corridor. It means entering the arena that you want to be in the future in any capacity to get started. This is far and away the best way to learn about a business because you see it from the inside. You make the contacts you need, which you could never have made from the outside. Also, once you're in the corridor, many other doors of opportunities may open to you. That is, once you witness what's really going on, you may discover a niche for yourself that you hadn't recognized before. And last, you may find that you really don't even like this field, and thank goodness you found out before you got in too deep. So which of the above happened for me? Well, by the time I was done with Mother Butler's, I couldn't stand the smell or even the sight of pie. And I wasn't the only one. The baker quit the day after I left, phoned me and explained that he had just found out about a hot new piece of exercise equipment known as gravity guidance inversion boots. You may have seen Richard Gere hang upside down in these in the movie American Gigolo. He wanted to know if I was interested in looking at them. I checked things out and decided the boots were dynamite, but he wasn't. So I got involved on my own. I began selling the boots to sporting goods and department stores. I noticed these retail outlets all had one thing in common: crummy exercise equipment. My brain bells went berserk. Opportunity, opportunity, opportunity. Funny how things happen. This ended up being my first experience selling exercise equipment, which eventually led me to opening one of the first retail fitness stores in North America and making my very first million. And to think, it all started as a busboy at Mother Butler's pie shop. The moral is simple. Get in the corridor. You never know what doors will open unto you. I have a motto. Action always beats inaction. Rich people get started. They trust that once they get in the game, they can make intelligent decisions in the present moment, make corrections, and adjust their sails along the way. Poor people don't trust in themselves or their abilities, so they believe they have to know everything in advance, which is virtually impossible. In the end, with their positive, ready, fire, aim attitude, rich people take action and usually win. Now, place your hand on your heart and declare, I focus on opportunities over obstacles. I get ready, I fire, I aim. And touch your head and say, I have a millionaire mind. Here are your millionaire mind actions. 1. Consider a situation or project you've wanted to start. Whatever you've been waiting for, forget it. Begin now from wherever you are with whatever you've got. If possible, do it for or with someone else first to learn the ropes. If you've already learned, no more excuses. Just go for it. 2. Practice optimism. Today, whatever anyone says is a problem or an obstacle, reframe it into an opportunity. 3. Focus on what you have, not on what you don't have. I suggest you make a list of 10 things you're grateful for in your life and read the list aloud. Then read it each morning for the next 30 days. Wealth file number 4. Rich people think big. Poor people think small. We once had a trainer teaching at one of our seminars who went from a net worth of $250,000 to over $600 million in only 3 years. When asked his secret, he said, everything changed the moment I began to think big. I refer you to the law of income, which states you will be paid in direct proportion to the value you deliver according to the marketplace. The key word is value. It's important to know that 4 factors determine your value in the marketplace: supply, demand, quality, and quantity. In my experience, the factor that presents the biggest challenge for most people is the quantity. The quantity factor simply means how much of your value do you actually deliver to the marketplace. Another way of stating this is, how many people do you actually serve or affect? In my business, for instance, some trainers prefer teaching small groups of 20 people at a time. Others are comfortable with 100 participants in the room. Others like an audience of 500, and still others love audiences of 1,000 to 5,000 or more. Is there a difference in income amongst these trainers? You better believe there is. Near the beginning of this recording, I mentioned that I owned a chain of retail fitness stores. From the moment I even considered going into this business, my intention was to have 100 successful stores and affect tens of thousands of people. My competitor, on the other hand, who started 6 months after me, had the intention of owning one successful store. In the end, she earned a decent living. I got rich. How do you want to live your life? How do you want to play the game? Do you want to play in the big leagues or in the little leagues? In the majors or in the minors? Are you choosing to play big or play small? It's your choice. Most people choose to play small. Why? First, because of fear. They're scared to death of failure, and they're even more frightened of success. Second, people play small because they feel small. They don't feel they're good enough or important enough to make a real difference in people's lives. But hear this. Your life is not just about you. It's also about contributing to others. It's about living true to your mission and reasons for being here on this earth at this time. It's about adding your piece of the puzzle to the world. Most people are so stuck in their egos that everything revolves around me, and more me. But if you want to be rich, in the truest sense of the word, it can't only be about you. It has to include adding value to other people's lives. Do you know the definition of an entrepreneur? The definition we use in our programs is a person who solves problems for people at a profit. That's right. An entrepreneur is nothing more than a problem solver. So I ask you, would you rather solve problems for more people or fewer people? If you replied more, then you need to start thinking bigger and decide to help massive numbers of people, thousands, even millions. The byproduct is that the more people you help, the richer you become, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, and definitely financially. Again, everyone has his or her unique purpose. Maybe you're a real estate investor and buy properties to rent them out and make money on cash flow and appreciation. What's your mission? How do you help? Well, there's a good chance you add value to your community by helping families find affordable housing they may not be able to find themselves. Now the question is, how many families and people can you assist? Are you willing to help 10 instead of 1, 20 instead of 10, 100 instead of 20? This is what I mean by playing big. My friends, the world doesn't need more people playing small. It's time to stop hiding out and start stepping out. It's time to stop needing and start leading. It's time to start sharing your gifts instead of hoarding them or pretending they don't exist. It's time you started playing the game of life in a big, big way. In the end, small thinking and small actions lead to being broke and unfulfilled. Big thinking and big actions lead to having both money and meaning. The choice is yours. Now, place your hand on your heart and declare, I think big. I choose to help thousands and thousands of people. And now touch your head and say, I have a millionaire mind. And here are your millionaire mind actions. 1. Write down what you believe to be your natural talents. These are things you've always been naturally good at. Also, write how and where you can use more of these gifts in your life and especially your work life. 2. Write down or brainstorm with a group of people how you can solve problems for 10 times the number of people you affect in your job or business right now. Come up with at least 3 different strategies. Think leverage.